Hello friends, welcome to my channel, the BONG English, a channel for learning English. So in this video, we will be learning a brief summary of To the Lighthouse, a novel written by Virginia Woolf. So in this video, we will be learning the characters, the plot and all important information on this novel. So let's start without any delay. To the Lighthouse. The subtitle of this novel is Time Passes, and it is written in 1927. Very important information that we are supposed to know. The next important information, the novel centers on Ramsey family. It is about Ramsey family and their visits to the Isle of Skye in Scotland between 1910 and 1920. This novel is based on stream of consciousness technique, as the novel includes little dialogue and almost no action. Most of it is written as thoughts and observations. The novel recalls the childhood emotions and highlights adult relationship. So this novel has three parts. Part 1, the window. Part 2, time passes. Part 3, the lighthouse. Yes, let's know the characters. It has many characters. The first character is Mrs. Ramsey. Yes, she is beautiful, kind, maternal, conversational. Mrs. Ramsey is the novel's central character, with her influence extending to all others. So she is the main character that we are supposed to know. Mr. Ramsey, a metaphysical philosopher, insecure. Mr. Ramsey can be unpleasant, harsh and demanding. Then Briscoe, an independent and introverted artist. Briscoe is Mrs. Ramsey's good friend and is painting a portrait of Mrs. Ramsey and her youngest son, James. Other important, very minor characters, not that much important: Paul Raleigh, Minta Doyle, Charles Dickens and William Banks. William Banks is the friend of Mr. Ramsey. There are other characters which are very minor, that's why I haven't included them in my very brief summary. Let's know the plot of this novel. The first part, as I've told you, the window. The window opens just before the start of World War I. Yes, Mr. Ramsey and Mrs. Ramsey bring their 8 children to their summer home in Heybridges, a group of islands west of Scotland. Across the bay, their house stands as a large lighthouse. 6-year-old James Ramsey wants desperately to go to the lighthouse, and Mrs. Ramsey tells him that they will go the next day if the weather permits. James reacts gleefully, but Mr. Ramsey tells him coldly that the weather looks to be foul enough. James then resents his father and believes that he enjoys being cruel to James and his siblings. So this is a very brief summary. Next, the Ramseys had 8 children, yes, as I have told you, and they all are joined by Briscoe, a painter, yes, who is attempting a portrait of Mrs. Ramsey and James. Then Charles Dickens, another important, not that much important character, who is another guest of Ramsey family, who claims that women can neither paint nor write. So a feminist reading also can be done for this novel. This is something that we are supposed to know. The first section of this novel, To the Lighthouse, the first section is titled The Window, closes with a large dinner party. Then part 2 is titled Time Passes. The second section gives a kind of sense of time passing, absence and death. 10 years pass in First World War. Yes, this is about the part 2, the second section of this novel. And at the end of this second section, Mrs. Ramsey and her 2 children die. So this is the very brief information about the section number 2, time passes, of this novel. The next part and the final part, The Lighthouse, part 3, takes place at summer house and begins with Mr. Ramsey and 2 of the children, Cam and James. These are the 2 children of Ramsey. Finally, going to the lighthouse, and Lily, the painter, working on the painting of Mrs. Ramsey that she never finished. Via Lily's thoughts, we hear that she never married but remained good friends with William Banks. As I have told you, William Banks is the friend of Mr. Ramsey. Paul and Minter's marriage fell apart. So Paul and Minter, they are the 2 guests of Ramsey family. Their marriage also fell apart. Mr. Ramsey, Cam and James actually make it to the lighthouse, and Lily finally finishes her painting. Throughout this last part of this novel, it is clear that Mrs. Ramsey is sorely missed. At the end of this section, Ramsey's daughter dies in the lighthouse while giving birth to a child. So that's the end of this novel. Thank you very much for watching, and if you are new to my channel, please subscribe to the channel